And away we go again. Okay, so uh, number one, I'm really pleased with the work that you're doing. Your essays are good, your comments are good, you're showing that you're interested, you're getting me your texts, answering the video questions. Okay, so you folks are really doing well. Now, I have been posting your grades every week on the grade sheet in Moodle. For some reason, it's not totaling them, but you should know that the essays are worth a maximum of 40. Okay, each of your comments is worth 10 points, and you have two comments each week. If you only get one, you get 10. If you do two comments, unless they're just oh I liked it, you're going to get 20 points. And your texts to me each week are worth 10 points. Okay, so I want to make sure you understand when you do look at that grade sheet in Moodle. But actually, all of you are doing very well. I'm really, really very pleased with what I'm seeing so far. So keep it up, okay? Now, this week we want to move into it, a really, really important part of storytelling. And that's the concept of narration, the narrator, okay? Number one, big point. Put this in your head and remember it whenever you read a piece of fiction. The author is not the narrator. Again, the author is not the narrator. What does that mean? The author writes the story. Okay, the author is the writer. The narrator is a character that the author creates to tell us the story. Okay, so that's the difference between an author and a narrator. So authors do not tell us a story. Narrators tell us the story, and the narrator is a character that the author creates. So if you look at some of the things we looked at so far, the story of an hour, okay, Kate Chopin is the author, but the narrator is just an impartial third person, somebody else, somebody out there just watching. Okay, and we'll go into the different kinds of narrators. Okay, so do you understand what I mean? Kate Chopin is not the person who told you the story. That narrator, a third person that Kate Chopin created, is the person who tells you the story. So again, the narrator tells us the story, the author writes the story and creates the narrator. Even in a story that's told from the point of view of I, the author is still not the narrator. The narrator is going to be a character that the author makes up to tell us the story. Okay, so let me explain this a little bit and then I'll go into some more examples. We have different types of narrators, as you might expect. We have a third person narrator. So the third person narrator is an outside person, somebody who is seeing and telling, but is not part of the story usually. So the narrator will be talking about the characters, calling them by name, or using terms like he and she, or they, or that kind of thing. Okay, so the third person narrator is not talking to us from the point of view of I. That doesn't mean that we can't have a character in the story talking to us from the point of view of I. We can have characters talking, and the character can refer to himself. So, I really wanted to go to the store today, okay? And if an author wrote that and put that into the words of a character, then it's just a character talking to us in first person, but it's not the narrator talking to us in first person. The narrator is the person who tells us a story. And again, an uninvolved narrator is a third person narrator, okay? There's the other kind of narrator is a first person narrator. There is no such thing as a second person narrator. First person narrator means I. And in a story where we have a first person narrator, the narrator is in the story and telling us the story. Okay. So if you look at A Rose for Emily, actually we have a first person narrator there. That person isn't saying I, but that person is saying we. The first person narrator is the townspeople in that story. Okay? And the townspeople are telling us what's going on. So that's a first person narration. Did we talk about the story A and P? I don't remember if we talked about A and P yet. So, okay, so let's not go into detail on that one. So really, A Rose for Emily, I think, might be the only first person narration we've seen so far. But typically, in first person narration, typically you have a character who's talking to us from I, point of view of I. Again, not the author, it's a narrator, but that narrator is also part of the story. We have different kinds of narrators. We have the first person narrator who's saying I, talking about himself as part of the story. We have a narrator who seems to know everything. So this narrator is going to know what's inside of people's heads, even besides what other people say. And this first person narrator is also part of the story. So that's an omniscient first person narrator. That's a narrator who knows all. Omniscient comes from the Latin omni, meaning all, and scio, meaning knowing. Now, God is the only omniscient character we know, but in literature, we can have a narrator who knows everything, okay? We can have a limited first-person narrator. So we can have a limited omniscient first-person narrator. And that's a narrator who thinks they know everything, but they don't. And if you looked at the narrator in A Rose for Emily, that person thinks he knows everything. And speaking as the crowd, they think they know everything, but they really don't know very much at all, do they? Okay, they only know what happened, but they don't know Emily, and Emily is kind of the core of the story. Okay, so that's a limited omniscient narrator. There are also unreliable narrators. Okay, but they'll usually be a third-person narrator, a narrator who is trying to tell a story but doesn't know as much as they might think they know. Okay, and so they're not really a reliable narrator. They're telling us things that they think might be going on, or they're telling us things but bending the truth to fit their purpose. Okay, so in third-person narrators, we can also have an all-knowing third-person narrator, so an omniscient third-person narrator, and that's more common than an omniscient first-person narrator. Okay, an omniscient third-person narrator is somebody who really knows everything that's happening, knows what's inside the heads of all the characters. Okay, knows all the actions that the characters do. A third-person omniscient narrator knows everything and tells us as much as that narrator wants to tell us, but is not a part of the story, okay, other than as narrated. And a limited omniscient third-person narrator is a person who thinks they know what's going on, but doesn't know everything that's going on. Okay, so we have first and third-person narrators. First person is talking usually from the point of view of I or we, and is usually a part of the story. Frequently, the first-person narrator seems very believable to us. Think of it this way. If you're sitting next to Sally, and Sally tells you about something that she was involved in, something that she did, and she tells us all about it, and she tells it from the point of view of Sally. So she's saying, I did this, and then he did that, and I did this, and she did that. That's a first-person narrator, okay? Now, you, having heard that story, go and tell somebody else. So you weren't part of the story, okay? You tell it to somebody else. So now you become a third-person narrator. You're saying, Sally said this, And then Sally said Henry told her this. Okay, so it's third person then, because we know first person is I and third person is the other people out there. Okay, so you get the difference between a first person narrator and a third person narrator. And why do authors do that? They're trying to create different kinds of feelings. You might like the kind of story that's told completely from without, okay? Um, Meaning a third person narrator, okay? You might like that. And most of the movies that you go to see are pretty much told in a third person narration. But probably most of you, somewhere along the line, have seen the movie Stand By Me. And in Stand By Me, we have a first person narrator. We have somebody who was involved in the story and is telling us the story, even though it's years later. Okay? So, first person coming from the point of view of the narrator, herself, himself, or as a collective first person, like the we in A Rose for Emily. And we have a third person kind of narration where it's somebody watching it all and talking about it all from outside. Okay? Again, narrator, author, two separate things. Your video question for this week is, what is the difference between the author and the narrator? Okay? And why do I give you these video questions? Because I feel like it reinforces the main ideas that we're trying to get across to you in the lesson. So if you take the time to actually write out, a first person narrator is, or I'm sorry, and the author is, and then you write out what the author is, and then the narrator is, and you write out what the narrator is. That helps more deeply ingrain it in your mind. Okay, so that's really why we have these video quizzes, and it's also, they're simple questions, so it's to reward you for watching the video too. Okay, so you guys have a great week. It's supposed to be in the 50s all this week, although if you wait till next weekend to watch it, we may be back down to the 30s. But some people are watching the videos on, like Sunday or Monday or Tuesday. And so they'll have good weather to look forward to. I don't know what the weather is for the week after that. But I have this wonderful feeling that we've broken winter's back. Am I a dreamer? Sure. Okay. Have a good week. And you know where to get me if you have questions. Thanks.